Sick Podcast Anvil Show family, we are back. We're back from the combine. We're back to talk Colts news because, of course, we have lots of it. And I'm just gonna say it like this. Listen, buckle up, okay? Have your snacks, have your drinks ready, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, whatever you prefer. It's up to you. But either way, we're gonna get this started. Welcome back to the Sick Podcast Anvil Show. Sammy, bring us in.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Anvil Show.
Intercepted! Marlon Jackson! Marlon's got it! We're going to the Super Bowl! We're going to the Super Bowl! Marlon Jackson with the interception! He picked off Tom Brady!
The sickest Indianapolis Colts podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Yes, sir. It is, in fact, sick. And before we get started, just a word from our sponsors. Make sure that you are going to DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Of course, there's no NFL games right now, but the great thing is DraftKings Sportsbook allows you to bet on any sport, whether it's basketball, baseball, tennis, whatever it may be. I mean, I think they might have gotten into esports now. Who knows? But either way, DraftKings is exactly where you can go ahead and make your bets. The great thing is also for any new customers that haven't used DraftKings Sportsbook before, you can actually download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use code SICKSPORTS. That's SICKSPORTS, all caps, no spaces. That's code SICKSPORTS, where you get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, and before we get started, we're going to come with the official sound of the Sick Podcast Anvil Show. Yes, and with that, we welcome you back to the Sick Podcast Anvil Show. I am your host, CJ, and I also have with us the one, the only,
Big P.
All right. Clyde will not be with us tonight. He is on his 22nd vacation of the year. So he will be back next week or whenever this vacation runs out. But in the meantime, Pat, how you doing, man? How we been?
Doing
all right.
great.
Yes. And I'm going to ask now, how have we been feeling since let's just say Tuesday, roughly?
I'm still a mixed bag of emotions.
Okay.
Just because I'm not on the inside looking out, I'm on the outside looking in, and I don't understand it. You know, does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
I know they have. I know Ballard and team has a plan. I don't know it. I don't understand it. It's been I think the 1960s since somebody used a transition tag over the franchise tag, either exclusive or non-exclusive franchise tag. As I was digging into the differences of it, the franchise tag, non-exclusive, and the transition tag, about the only difference is money.
Yeah.
So the franchise tag, you get hit with that, you're locked. No, you can't talk to other teams. You can't do nothing. This is how much you're going to make for a 1-year deal. It's guaranteed, locked in, blah, 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 blah. We all know that. The non-exclusive tag says the team wants you, but understands you might be able to make more somewhere else. So we're going to let you look.
Yeah.
But that team still has the option to match any said offer and keep you retained. The transition tag basically says the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so why use that over the franchise non-exclusive tag? Not sure. It had to be because they're trying to save money, and they
Yeah.
don't believe Daniel Jones is going to get what was that 34 million or 37, almost 37.5 million on the transition tag is what he'll get next year.
Yeah, it's
Evan,
37 it's 37.5 million on transition, and I think it was like 43.
48. I thought it was 48 on the franchise
Or might have
tag.
been it might I think the original it was 40. I think it was 47, but then it came out that I believe it was 43 on the franchise tag. But
So
either I want to say either way, it's a lot. I mean, it's a
it
lot.
is. So evidently they don't believe he is going to garner any offers over 40. So
Yeah,
they're saving some money using the transition tag.
yeah,
But that's just me and my little pea brain thinking. I could be completely wrong, but that's the aggravating part of being a fan is that they're not transparent in what they do. That no team is. Um,
yeah,
Instead of just coming out and saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing and why," they just do it and shut up about it. That gets aggravating, and it's aggravating right now because we used a transition tag on Jones, but they didn't use the franchise tag on Pierce, which didn't
yeah,
doesn't make sense. You're going to let that dude hit the market.
yeah.
If he hits the market, he might not be back.
I mean, it's. I think at this point, like for me, I'm leaning towards he's not going to be back more so than he will be, and I think even with what we've seen thus far, I think he'll have a market. He 100% will have a market. But the problem is that there's a lot of things that got us to this point that make it so that losing him now is a lot more dire than it actually should have been. Because once again, I just keep on going back to the fact that why would you trade AD Mitchell knowing that there was no guarantee that Pierce was going to be back?
Well, we heard some stuff about AD at the combine. I ain't gonna throw nobody's name out there, anything like that, because it was kind of private talk with some other insiders that has more knowledge of the situation. And from what I gathered from that conversation, Chris, is that they were just tired of his antics. They were just done with him. So trading him out, they were okay with, regardless if AP stays or goes.
But and I
Is
think that's
is that what you got from that conversation?
what I got from it is that Shane was just over it. What I got from it was that Shane was just over AD as a whole, the same way that he was just over Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the prop. Like once again, when I look at this, right? When I look at players, I see that you know there's certain things that happen like with players, right? Because the thing is, when I think of antics, I think of things like you know get caught for speeding, doing things off the field that make it so that your availability on the field is much less, or even getting to a point where it's just like you're just a headache, that's what it is. And like for me, it's just like did he make mistakes on the field? 100%. I right there with you. But my biggest issue is the fact that if you didn't like AD Mitchell for some of the mistakes that he made, then that's fine. But the thing is, we've seen it before with players where coaches will sit there and coaches like with lead, or I'm going to say coaches who lead will sit there and say, if their guy is messing up, just be like, hey, get your head in the game, get your head out your ass, and do what you got to do.
Yeah,
But the problem,
they actually coach them.
and so the thing is for me, if AD, and mind you, AD Mitchell has had 2 years. Unless AD Mitchell was just sitting there just being an absolute a-hole on and off the field, then why would you get rid of somebody, especially understanding that you were potentially going to have somebody walk? Because the irony of this whole situation is the fact that by the end of this free agency period, we could have two of our starting receivers that played on the field last season available after having all four of them, knowing that we had a receiver core that was actually going to be very, very good long term. And now, if you lose Alec Pierce, wide receiver becomes a major necessity now in a draft where you need to address defense.
I wouldn't quite say a major necessity. A necessity, yes. But a major, I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far yet.
I mean, I would, because the thing is, like, we know that there's always at some point or another a receiver is going to get hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So mind you, if let's just say Pittman gets hurt, you have Downs, you have Gould, you have Doolin, and you have Laquan Treadwell. When you look at that wide receiver core, what do you think of immediately when you see that wide receiver core?
Well, Downs and Pittman, are solids. The other one's not so much. Can they do the job? Absolutely. Are they consistent in doing it? We haven't seen it. We seen it from them. So
yeah, we haven't.
I'm not going to say, those guys will be all right. Yeah, they're backups, but they'll be fine. Because Laquan, we haven't really seen him much at all. Well, Doolin, we see him, and then we see him get hurt. Then he comes back. We see him a little bit more. Then we see him get hurt again. He really is truly quick. He's explosive. He's multifaceted in what he can do on the field. He just, injuries hurt him. And I'm sorry, you can be the greatest player in the world, but if you're injured and you're not on the field, you do us no good. You do us absolutely no good.
It's injuries and inconsistency. Because I mean, like I said, it's just like this guy. He's the most veteran wide receiver we have in that room, and he hasn't touched 1,000 yards for his career receiving. Special teams, fantastic, but as far as an actual wide receiver, I don't trust him consistently.
No,
and
but go look at what's in this draft, Chris. I think we're going to be okay, even if we get a second, maybe third rounder in the wide receiver position. I think we're going to be okay. This receiver class is deep and they're quick. Versus, you wasn't with us when DT or the defensive tackles were out on the field, were you?
No, I wasn't. No,
a lot of talent. We seen it. We watched them do their drills. But the only thing that stuck in my head with this crop of defensive tackles is heavy-footed. They're heavy-footed. That's going to slow them down. It might not have slowed them down in college, but it'll slow them down in this league. You cannot be a defensive tackle and be heavy-footed. You got to be able to spin. You got to be able to move left and right. And
you do, yeah.
Was it just a bad day for the ones that I saw? Could be, because a lot of these guys, it's the first time I seen them. Just because my schedule doesn't allow me to watch a whole lot of college. So to sit there and to badmouth them, I don't want to, but what the ones that I watched, you really seemed super heavy footed, and that's not good. That's not
Yeah.
good. So, if you're trying to replace Grove, not in this class. There's definitely some edges out there that can step in, but I honestly believe we're going to fix that in free agency.
I mean, but
We're
free
going
agency isn't an option now.
Sure it is.
No, it's
Everything's an
not.
option. It's just numbers. It's
No,
numbers.
it is just number, but the problem is that the transition. So this is the reason why there's so much fear in regards to what's happening, because the thing is that transition tag for a team that had 34 million, that transition tag ate up all of that.
And then
Like
some.
we thought that they might do the transition tag with Alec, and then be able to get a deal done with Jones, because if you get a deal done with him, you can play around with the money a little bit. You can move money around and make sure that everything is going the way that it's supposed to. But the problem is that now that you use the transition tag, that's 37 million that's going to count as of next week. So
Absolutely.
by then, that's when you have to kind of get, all your ducks in a row. That's when, and like I said, you're right about the numbers, because I mean, you could go and just say, hey, trade a couple players away, which we actually heard a player is on the trade block for us,
Yeah,
which
we'll
we'll
get to
definitely
that.
discuss later on.
We'll get
But
to
the
that.
thing, but as of right now, we are looking at having nothing going into free agency and potentially saying, okay, well, we can go ahead and sign somebody, and there's no guarantee we'll be able to do much of anything.
Yeah. But again, it's just numbers. They can move numbers around. They can create fancy contracts. They can open up a whole slew of things. So being 4 or 5 million in the negative on the cap right now does not concern me one bit.
Mhm.
Does not concern me one bit.
I mean, like, I don't know. I guess it does for me, at least, because I know who's in charge of it, and it's kind of tough for me to just have like the full like, all right, it's going to get fixed, because like I said, it's just like it feels like this is something, like it feels like right now is the worst things have been when it's come to the team moving around and actually having that space, because it's a little bit tough to just automatically just put your faith in the fact that we're over because we use this tag, and now we have to figure out exactly what the next course of action is.
Man, chat is going crazy.
Yeah, by the way, let's shout out the chat right now. Shout out to Josh Brunner, shout out to Teresa, Luis, shout out to gotta roll down because my God. Shout out to Rich, shout out to Dean. Even though he's a Patriots fan, we forgive him. Shout out to Brian, Jeremiah, shout out to James, shout out to Meanie. But yeah, we got, listen, it's to me, it's much tougher to just go ahead and navigate, because once again, we are talking about potentially having to say, all right, we need to move something. We need to move some money around. We need to move some players around, because we know we talked about this a few weeks ago about what the best case scenario was, to either possibly just go ahead and do trade or release when it comes to Pittman, when it comes to Grove, when it comes to Z. And I mean, Z is the first one they put up to trade, but Z isn't even the one that can actually net you the most value. So at this point, it's just like, you're looking to go ahead and trade somebody away. It's just like, if somebody calls about him, then sure. But I mean, I think right now, like if you were to restructure, even if you restructure, Grove, restructure Pittman, you could save some money there. But once again, there's so many holes right now. You have, like, for example, you have Latu and you have JTT in terms of your edges.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything after that. And then even if you trade Z away, Jermaine Pratt, we didn't resign Jermaine Pratt. So right now you have Alubi, you have Carlisle, you have Hunter Waller. Neither one of Hunter and Waller, neither one of Waller and Carlisle played last year.
Nope.
And then we don't know what the deal is with Ward. We know that Nick Cross is gone. And then I think Rodney Thomas is gone too. So thank God. But still, but the thing is, it's just like there's so many question marks. And then now, if you lose Pierce, wide receiver is added into that mix as well.
Yep. Oh, look, don't take me wrong. I don't want to lose Pierce. He's proved his weight. Absolutely. But if he is not going to take anything under amount X and the Colts aren't going to give him anything above amount Z, it just ain't going to work. You got – and things like this, it's got to work for both sides, not just for the player, not just for the organization, and not just for the fan base. Yeah, every fan wants Pierce back. Every fan saw what that man's capable of. But it's got to be a good deal for both player and org. Yeah. And that gets tough, especially when you get some talent on the team in more than one spot. You're paying top talent, top dollar.
Yeah.
Something's going to fall. Something's going to break. You can't stack every top player on your team because you just can't afford it.
Yeah, but I think also I don't think it's necessarily about paying every top player on your team, right? I think it's about understanding that you have a good enough system in place where if you were to lose somebody,
Louis, you're killing me already. We 10 minutes into the show, and Luis is killing me.
Listen, he's not wrong, but it doesn't mean you should say it. But if we're talking about the actual team itself, right? If you have a team where you have a system where you consistently are drafting and cultivating depth behind those guys, and it's youth that's developing, then I think you have a little bit more faith. And to me, the problem is, and it's the same thing that I've said to you, right? It's like in regards to Ballard, great man. We've interviewed him. We've had the opportunity to talk with him. Great guy, very smart mind. The thing that I will always, always, always have an issue with is the fact that he will let rooms dissipate to where there's nothing there, and then you almost have to go get somebody. Like, there's no real youth developing behind these guys that could potentially leave. I would feel a lot more comfortable with Zaire walking if I knew for a fact that we had somebody reliable. We saw Carlisle 2 seasons ago play, and we were just like, oh, he could be the guy, but then he got hurt. And then we didn't see him all this season. And he's somebody that we're hoping on the same way that we've hoped on people who were hurt, who didn't really play like that, i.e. Jelani Woods, and hoping to God that not only do they come in, but they'll be able to reach the maximum potential that we're looking for. And the same thing with Waller. Now we haven't seen any Waller play on the field, but now we're hoping and depending on him. And it's just we've gotten to this point where we have gone through this cycle of hoping that players that we've never seen truly be able to play consistently before come in and not just be good players, but be consummate starters that will be able to just play consistently. Mm-hmm. And I think, to me, that's the biggest issue, because when we're looking at team building, when we're looking at how things are supposed to go, it's not a good formula, because if for some reason, let's just say Carlisle is hurt again this year, or Waller is hurt again this year, that means that we're going to be playing with guys behind them, which means that we have guys who are unproven, and then behind them, it's going to be guys who are even more unproven that we don't even know how they'll be able to handle that. And meanwhile, when it came down to everything else, Daniel Jones is getting $37 million this year.
Yep. But you got to pay your quarterback.
I get you got to pay your quarterback.
You got to.
But right now we're going through a deal of addition by subtraction.
It happens. It happens. It's not ideal by no means. And this is 100% Chris Ballard's fault. He should have had some moves made before we got this deep into the financial rabbit hole.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at.
But again, we're not flies on the wall. We don't know if he actually tried to, and their agents are like, "Nah, let's talk on after season."
Well, I think that's the case with Pitt.
If I was an agent, that's exactly what I'd do, Chris. If you was the GM, I would not do a mid-season extension because when my players playing right now, we're going to get more money at the end of the season.
Well, that was the case with Pierce. So that's the reason why I'm not totally just absolutely pissed off about Pierce, because Pierce said, let's wait till the end of the season to have these talks. Because I'm pretty sure that, Ballard, if he could have locked him up before the season, I think he maybe would have, because it's just I think if you go and you get into a contract before a season, then you're not worried about how he played this year. But I mean, Pierce bet on himself. So I mean, I get it. I understand. But when it came down to Daniel Jones, the reason, and because like I said, from the insiders that we talked to, we were at the combine, which we're going to talk about because the combine was freaking dope. But
I told y'all that's my Disney World. Was I lying?
Hey, listen, but this is a different type of Disney World. This is like a Disney World when you got the all-inclusive VIP pass. So yeah, but the thing was with the insider, with what we were talking about, they're talking about the fact that Daniel Jones, they were negotiating for weeks. So what my theory was that they went and they had been talking to Daniel Jones during the season. They said, okay, this is how things are lining up. Let's go get this done. Let's make sure everything's good. And then boom, the injury happens. Now all of a sudden, the injury happening, on top of the fact that we've seen that he'd been injured in the past in New York. Mind you, this is a completely different injury altogether because the other one was an ACL. This is an Achilles. And then on top of that, it was an Achilles on top of a fractured fibula. So, I mean, when we're talking about how much difference there is, I'm guessing they probably were discussing contracts during the season because they knew they were just okay, this is our guy. This we can go some places with this guy. But then after everything was said and done, now they go back to the negotiating table. Now all of a sudden it's maybe the numbers are a little bit different, or maybe now the money, you don't have as much guaranteed money because you understand that if you put too much guaranteed money on there and he gets hurt again, that's pretty much going to handicap you, or it's going to almost be an overpay.
Yep.
So I think that there's a couple different things that maybe be mitigating factors to why they didn't get this deal done to begin with. But I mean, even now, I know that they said they're still going to be negotiating with both him and Pierce, but I just don't believe that the amount that they were looking at previously is the amount that they were talking about now, because I think the Colts were just yeah, we may need to cover our own butts just in case, you do get hurt again. Because let's be honest, I mean, Daniel Jones, he's been hurt quite a bit during his career.
Yep. And this has been my gripe about running quarterbacks. When you know that your quarterback has some talented legs and you scheme those legs into the game, that's when they get hurt. Now, Daniels wasn't that way. AR's was. Jalen Hurts was. Patrick Mahomes was. And the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Only tell the quarterback to use his legs when he's got nothing else.
Yeah.
I'm against a quarterback on the run taking hits. I just am. Now I don't know all of Daniel Jones's injuries. These here last year, the injuries he got while he was with us, they weren't on running plays.
Yeah.
So, but still, they they had designed run plays for him. He didn't get hurt, but if he comes back, they're going to keep those design run plays in, and he probably will get hurt again.
Yeah,
a lot of talking just to say I agree with you on the injury, on the injury side of things.
Yeah, it's and the thing, like I said, that's the reason why, like for me, I know, especially with the fact that like you utilize his mobility. For me, it's just like, yeah, like he throws the ball at times very, very well, but I think one of his more, I'm gonna say one of his more appealing factors is his ability to be able to scramble out the pocket and the fact that he's deceptively fast. So now you
Yes, he is.
have you have the ability to say, all right, here's what it is. But the problem is that now if he gets hurt, you're on the hook for money. And I mean, honestly, it's just like I know he may see that he wants more than anything. I think at this point, the transition tag probably was the best thing that you could have done because the transition tag makes it so that if another team believes that Daniel Jones is truly the answer, then they will sit there and they will pay up. But the problem is, if for some reason they don't, that means that there was possibly going to be another team that maybe would have been able to undercut that possibly would have gotten him. Now, I was completely rejecting the idea before, and then we're going to talk about the combine after this. I was completely rejecting the possibility before, but now not so much knowing what it is for everything that you're doing when it came down to Daniel Jones. You could have gone after Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but that was two different dates when that happened.
Yeah,
The tag
yeah,
happened. That tag happened. Damn near at what 3:30, and 4 o'clock was the deadline.
yeah, and then they
The
cut
Kyler
Kyler the
move,
very next day. I believe.
yeah, the very next day. So I don't know. Maybe he can create another QB competition. He's only going to cost what 1.3 million.
Yeah,
I
that's
seen.
yeah, that's the vet minimum technically because he because of his contract and the way that it's structured, he would be able to be signed for the vet min. So I mean, you do have that ability. So I mean, you never know. But man, listen, enough of all this nonsense because I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this combine, man, because the combine on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 1,072. Like it was a hell of an event. Once again, shout out to Big P. I don't know if y'all know, but whenever I go to Indy, Big P is who I'm generally with. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like he's awesome as always. Anybody who meets him, anything, they will tell you the same. Like he's like I said, we may give him a lot of hell on here, but I mean, Big P is a stand up guy through and through. And like I said, it's just like this was the exact same thing. This is my first time doing the combine all together, and I mean, honestly, it was a place where I just knew that God meant for me to be in that building every single day that I was in that building. So that was a fantastic event, fantastic thing. It's like, yeah, it was it was absolutely one of those things that I was just at 100% like we got a chance to see a lot of people. We got a chance to talk to a lot of people. And I'm gonna say it's P. He got a chance. He was living his dream. He got a chance to interview Francis Mayanawa. For anybody that doesn't know, he's the tackle out of the University of Miami, trenches guy. We all know how Big P loves trenches. So yeah, and then I got a chance to interview Jeremiah Love. I mean, honestly, it's just like being able, and I mean, I know, are they in their own possibility for the Colts? Absolutely not. But these are the people that you get to go ahead and talk to, be in the room with during that time. Like I said, my experience was bar none one of the best ever. But I want you to talk about it, Pat, because like I said, I know with you, it's just like you say that's your Christmas. That's your. But the thing is, I
Disney
think
World.
this was your Disney World, but this was your first year as credentialed media. So how did this differ this year? Oh no, this year. Well, how many years?
I think my second year for
Second,
credentials.
second. So how was this year as opposed to previous years for you?
Pretty surreal. Really, this year, I know I didn't belong there, but I felt like I did. If that
No, you
makes
did.
any sense, So the interviews and talking to the players, that's all fine, and it's great. It's fabulous, and it's enough. But for me, walking down the convention hallway with Sean Payton next to you and Robert Scholler or something, and you're just right there in the mix of it all. It is just a feeling I cannot describe.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right in the mix. You're having a blast talking with people that, you've watched for a long time. You've cussed them, you've praised them. So yeah, it's amazing. But the Jeremiah Love thing, yeah, we know he's not coming to the Colts. But how many Colts fans are Notre Dame fans?
Yep.
Yeah. We got a one-on-one when 98% of the people there could not get it.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to, Rich Eisen's booth. They were going to Mike Fiorio and Chris Sims' booth. They were going to the ESPN booth. Those were the booths they were going. So for us to get that one-on-one, that was a huge blessing, not just for us, but for everybody that follows us, if they're Notre Dame fans. I had a ton of people reach out saying, man, thanks for that, man. I love that dude. He's going to be a megastar, da-da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Francis, he was a little different story. Was able to land that. I don't know how many Miami fans we have that follow us. I'm sure we've got some. Not as many Notre Dame fans, not as many Indiana fans, but I'm sure we got some. But he is arguably the best tackle in the draft.
Yeah.
We was able to land that with a potential top 10 pick. And both those guys are potential top 10s. We landed one-on-ones when, like I said, they were going to ESPN, Rich Eisen, people like that. And then we get that. So I was extremely, extremely blessed, or we all were, to be out there, get what we get. It was, man, doing stuff like that I'm always at a loss for words. Because it's just unreal, that we're right in the thick of things. Yeah.
No, and the thing is, well, first off, I want to correct you because you said, in Rome you didn't belong. You absolutely belong there. And like I said, I know.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. The thing is, I'm not Zach Hicks. I'm not Jake Arthur. I'm not James Boyd. I'm not you. I'm not Clyde. You guys have that mindset and that way of thinking where you're really good at this sports talk stuff. You guys are really good at asking questions. You're really good at coming up with the right questions to ask the right person. I'm just happy to be in the mix of it. That's what I mean by that. Sure, I belong. I belong anywhere I park my fat ass. That I promise you. That I guarantee. That wasn't where I was going with that. That I guarantee you I've earned in this life.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I say that in a way where I say you belong because of the fact that what you do, it's like there's people, it's kind of like it's crazy because you got the people who are out front, but you also have the people in the background, right? And for you like, for anybody who doesn't know, it's just like when you're going around, especially when you're at the combine in the media section, there's only but so many opportunities. People are walking around with people guiding them, letting them know. Pat goes up authentically to go and talk to these people to be able to go ahead and get these opportunities because Jeremiah Love didn't choose us. Pat went up to these people that he made sure that he was communicating with and that he was conversing with, building rapport with, that trusted him enough to be able to say, you know what, I got you. We'll do that. So the thing is, it's just like I said, we don't get Jeremiah Love or Francis Mainawa without Pat. So, I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, he says he doesn't belong, but he absolutely belongs there because a lot of the stuff that happens wouldn't happen without him. And that's all. And that's where we're going to go because then we're going to go back to the other stuff because people want
If
to
I
hear
was a
about
blushing
Franklin.
kind of guy, I'd be blushing right now.
Absolutely. Like I said, I give you hell, but man, it's just like I said, that's this whole entire weekend is something that I could have only dreamed of.
Look at the chat. Look at what we do on the show week in and week out. We give each other hell. The chat gives us hell. We give the chat hell because we're family. We're all brothers and sisters. That's what family does. We have a good time doing this. And honestly, Chris, that's what I'm extremely thankful for. You know,
exactly.
That what we've built isn't a following. It isn't a fan base. It's a family.
It's a family.
That's what we've built, and I'm extremely, extremely thankful for that.
Yep.
Absolutely. So keep giving me hell because that makes me feel like I'm part of the family. And guess what, chat? We're gonna keep giving y'all hell too.
Exactly.
Because you're family.
Speaking of hell, hey, well, actually, before we go into further hell, hey, shout out to Nate, shout out to Flex, shout out to everybody watching, no matter where you are. Make sure that if you're watching on Facebook, make sure that you're following, liking, all that good stuff. Same goes for YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're tuning in from. We appreciate y'all. Make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, all that good stuff. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about this because Nathan brought it up. So, we're just going to do it. Zaire Franklin is on the trade block.
Yes. If that surprised you, you're not paying attention to football.
No, not at all.
You didn't pay attention to the games. You didn't pay attention to his play during the games. And it's not that Z is missing steps. It's not that Z is gone downhill because he's not. He just doesn't fit in Lou's system. We've talked about this before. I think he's due 10 something million this year. You trade that out, you bring that back in. Because he's not making it anyways, because he doesn't fit Lou's system. Not because he's old, not because he's missing a step, not because he can't do his job. It's just he doesn't fit in Lou's system.
Yeah.
So
and I think also with him, he fit better into Gus Bradley's system, which is why I think that they kept him around for as long as they did. Because even before, even when Eberflus was here, that's when we started seeing him kind of like making his way into the lineup, But the thing is, it's just like they were still hesitant because at that time you still had Bobby, you still had Leonard, you still had everybody that you needed to be able to execute that because those guys were able to fly, they were able to go ahead and make those plays. And then Z, he came in and, if we're being completely real, he has a limited skill set in that regard because if you ask him to truly, truly be able to go out there, let's just say play his own, make sure you take tight ends out of plays, he's not able to do that. If you ask him to just consistently cover, he's not able to do that. So, like I said, it's just he may be better served being somewhere else. But I mean, honestly, I like the fact that he, that was something that we talked about, early on. I think in the offseason, I said, I just think that Z might be the odd man out because I just don't think that he'll be able to fit in this system that requires linebackers to be way more interactive than he's ever been on the Colts at all. And so, I think that just led us to where we are right now, where, you need to go ahead and do something to get some extra money. We do need extra money because right now, technically, we'd be, I believe, maybe about 3 to 4 million over the salary cap. So, I mean, you need to create some money right now. Otherwise, it's like this team is not going to look very good going into next season because, like I said, your defense is going to be incredibly thin.
Yep.
Yeah, then I mean, like I said, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if they don't find a trade partner for him, I just could see that they'd cut him.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going, but they should get something for him in return. Yeah, he's an all-pro captain, middle linebacker, one-time sack leader or tackle leader for the NFL. You know, Z's got a lot on his resume. He really does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he does. I just think, like I said, it's just like right now for him, I think he's gonna go back to being where he needs to be. And to me, he needs to be a rotational guy. I think he needs to be in a place kind of like EJ Speed, where you're just rotating him in for certain plays and certain packages. I think a team maybe like, depending like a Washington or something to that extent is going to end up, possibly using him, maybe in a similar fashion. I just know it's just like to me, it's just like he's just way too limited to justify keeping him around. Like we got better play out of Jermaine Pratt than we did out of Z. And I mean, honestly, Jermaine Pratt just came in and he was just like, "Oh, okay, cool." That's why I'm just like, I'm sure at some point or
Took him
another,
a game or two, but after that, he did really well.
oh yeah, absolutely. But that's the reason why I'm just like, okay, yeah, I know that they're absolutely gonna go and say, hey, by the way, let's go ahead and potentially go and get Jermaine Pratt back because if we're like once again, Jermaine Pratt, if you bring him back, and let's just say you draft a linebacker, like let's just say, for example, if Anthony Hill Jr. falls to you, you have Jermaine Pratt, all of a sudden, I think you have a much better defense than you even imagined because of the fact that now you have a better linebacking core that's going to be much more athletic, that can fly, and that can actually cover really well.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, Nathan brings up bringing Bobby O back. Yeah, I seen where New York let him go. I would love to see Bobby O back. I hated seeing that dude leave.
He should have never left, if we're being honest.
He really shouldn't have. He really shouldn't have.
Yeah, he should never left because
he was that true cover linebacker that would knock the socks off of you.
Yes, and that's all the more reason why I just say, like the way that the personnel have been handled with re-signing and doing different things, I'm not happy with the way that things have gone because they've just continuously decided that they're just going to say, hey, we're going to have this guy and we're going to have this guy and we're going to keep on doing this and this. And it's just like, it's been a formula that just hasn't worked over time. And that leads us to now where it's just like, now we have to scramble to go and fill out an entire defense. And then on top of that, come next season, and somebody said this the other day, and I was just like, I don't know about that. But I mean, now it just seems a little bit more true. They're just like, Chris Ballard has constructed this team to be a team that he himself is going to try to convince others that he will have to fix. And that right there lets you know that it's just like his plan kind of has always been to just go ahead and just let things go so that he can just kind of fix it. Like I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, I don't understand it.
Well, we're never going to understand it because we're not in there doing it. We're not in there standing up for this guy or not standing up for that guy. All we can do is sit and let them do their jobs and go from there. But no, okay. I'm absolutely with everybody there. Teresa made a comment that I was bad mouthing my daddy. No, I'm not bad mouthing my daddy. I still believe in Chris Ballard. I know y'all going to throw arrows at me for that, and that's fine. But I will say when things are wrong and when they're right, or right, regardless who they are. And I've told you all before, I can't defend that man's record. He can't defend that record. I can defend the talent he finds, and that's what a GM's supposed to do. Now, I would have handled this offseason a little more different, but we don't know exactly how he was able to handle it. We don't know if he was trying to get extensions done during the season to not let it lead up to this point where we're at right now, where Pierce is hitting free agency. Hell, they might have a handshake agreement. All right, check out the free agency. This is where we're at. If somebody comes in this much higher, we'll go up a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. Because Pierce has already said he wants the quarterback position to be Daniel Jones. He wants that stability there. Yeah. He's had a different quarterback every year of his career here. I don't blame him for that. You know, maybe that's why they didn't put the franchise tag on him. You know, because they understand that too. You know, and they like Alex. They're not trying to hold him down. But again, we're not in those rooms. We don't know this information. We can only speculate. You know, some people want to speculate on the side of positivity. Some people want to speculate on the side of negativity. You know, whichever way you want to go with it, go with it. Me, I stay on the positive side of things.
Yeah, that's and that's the reason why I like so and I get where you're coming from, but the thing is once again, like I don't think there's ever an off season where, and mind you, just even moving QB to the side, like we don't even have to consider what we always like have to consider when it comes to quarterback. If you go ahead and you move QB to the side, have you been able to go into every offseason under Ballard? And mind you, this is even taking QB out, whether it was Luck or anybody else. Have we ever gone into every single offseason and we felt comfortable with the state of the team before free agency and even before the draft? Can you say that we've consistently just been like, oh yeah, all we need to do?
I won't ever say that in an off season. Even if we win the Super Bowl, there's going to be there's going to be things to fix.
No, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that where I'm talking from is the fact that we're just like, okay, we got a couple things we need to fix. You know, we may be like, we'll pick up an edge rusher in free agency. We'll just draft a running back, draft a wide receiver. We're good. We got a pretty good nucleus. We got a good team. They've already shown they could be successful. So we can go into next season and then we can just actually feel comfortable, even if we know like we may need, you know, these three things, right? I don't think in all these offseasons, because mind you, if we just go over the last few years, just looking at what the team needed, right? Because last offseason, we're just like, okay, cool. We got a bunch of cornerbacks. We're going to have to see exactly how the cards are going to fall with this whole Daniel Jones thing because we were worried about quarterback, right? But then even before that, we're just like, damn, okay, we definitely need edge rush because we need defense, cornerbacks, you know, we need all of that. And then every year we've known that we've had a significant need year after year after year, which is very, very tough to kind of navigate, at least for us in an off season, because you're just like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with this team at all, but we do know that we just don't have the depth to be able to, like, when we've had Rodney Thomas out there starting, knowing how bad Rodney Thomas has been, that's when you know, yeah, we need to do something about this. And then nothing was done about it. So it's tough to kind of navigate, especially now because, you know, this time next week, we don't know whether or not Alec Pierce is going to be here.
We do not.
But once again, we're going to have to either bet on the fact that we might have some money so we can go and maybe grab a guy out of free agency, or that we'll have to draft a guy in the NFL draft itself, and then we'll have to draft somebody second, maybe third round when you have an edge rusher available because we know that we might need somebody else on the other side of Latu. So there's some questions. There's some questions, but yeah, we're just going to have to see. Don't fall for everything you see on social media because everybody's posting
please
something.
don't. I read something earlier where somebody said they seen Diggs at the front office, and like, no, you didn't. Shut up.
You didn't. Yeah, exactly. It's weird. Yeah, and shout out to Chris. By the way, like I said, we're gonna actually we're about to roll up out of here, but before we do, just gonna go ahead and make sure we shout everybody out. So first off, you can find me on Twitter at CJ Colts fan. Where can they find you?
You can find me on X at Colts Forge.
Yes, you can find him on X. He likes the illicits. And then also, can you bring up the podcast page, please?
Thank you, Miss Teresa. Oh, to answer your question with what's going on with AR, no news right now. I haven't heard anything where a team's offering anything for him.
Yeah, nobody's offered anything.
That doesn't mean there's not.
Yeah. Could be a package deal also, depending on what it's looking like. Who knows? You may have Z and AR going to the same place. You never know. But then also you can find us at Sick Pod Colts. Make sure you are subscribing. That'll also give you the link for the YouTube. Make sure that you're subscribing to both. Like I said, if you subscribe to it, then you would have seen all the interviews that we had. We got a chance to interview Drew Allar, Francis Mayanawa, Jeremiah Love, Skylar Bell. We had numerous interviews with players. So definitely make sure that you are subscribing to both the Twitter page at Sick Pod Colts and the YouTube page, Sick Podcast Anvil Show. And also make sure that you are listening to reruns of this episode on both Z103.com and Mix105. You can find Mix105 on Facebook. Subscribe on there. They do a lot of great things in just the state of Indiana as a whole. And then you can also go to Z103.com. You can download that app. Great radio station. We love Monty. He's fantastic. Make sure that you go to Z103.com. You can find it on your app store. And then you can listen 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central. And for anybody over there in the UK, you can actually go to VIP One Lounge Extra. They broadcast at the same time on Wednesdays, just their time, which would be 5 o'clock p.m. UK time. So definitely go through there. And then also, please bring up Visit Indy. So actually, this weekend, Visit Indy was, or they basically hosted big events at the venue where the combine was being held. Lots of great information. They actually give you a lot of great information. So like I said, make sure that you scan that QR code. Make sure they're using Visit Indy for anything you have going on, any events, anything that you're doing in the Indianapolis area. I was just there. I call it a work trip. Because I was out there just in different spots.
You worked your ass off, that's for sure.
Listen, I was doing the damn thing. We were working hard. We were working hard out there. Pat's saw feet. They couldn't handle it anymore. He had to sit down for a second. But make sure that you're going to Visit Indy for everything going on in the Indianapolis area, and please bring up the youth football camp. Yes, and make sure, if you haven't already, make sure that you are registering for youth football camp this year. It will be held May 17th, 2026. Your kids will be able to go out there, or kids will be able to go out there. They'll be able to do drills with their age groups. They'll be able to get some really, really helpful tips, some hints, a lot of these things, and they'll be able to get it directly from the guys who do it. Josh Downs and Tyler Warren. They will be there hosting, interacting with the kids.
And
if you've never,
those are two great guys. They got a lot of friends that's going to come out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had Josh Downs last year, and then Drew Ogletree came through. We actually got what's the name, and then we actually had Jalen Jones at Kenny's camp. You never know who's going to show up, and if we're being completely honest, I mean these guys they do this. They don't just stand by and just sign autographs or no. They will go. They interact with these kids. They will stay behind these events. This event is probably going to be 2 to 3 hours, and they will stay an extra hour just to make sure every child gets a picture, autograph, everything, because that's who they are. So definitely make sure that you register at youthfootballcamp.com. You'll be able to find that event on May 17th. Yes, get registered ASAP. But other than that, that's all from me. What you got? Anything else you got, Pat?
That's it. Appreciate every single one of you.
What's up, Sarah?
You validate what we do. And the more chance that we get to run into people, we love it. Like we ran into Miss Taylor at the combine, and it was like we've known her personally forever. You know what I mean? It was all smiles and hugs. I love that stuff, man. I love the happy emotions from humanity. So let's keep that going. Let's stay blessed. Let's pass our blessings. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so with that being said, shout out to Sarah. I know he popped in later. But like I said, guys, we will see you next week. We will talk more Colts football. In the meantime, stay blessed. And like I said, we'll see you next week. Sammy, take us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast and Bill Show on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.